Hi, I'm Stephen Howard. I'm an award-winning author of the book, Better Decisions, Better Thinking, Better Outcomes. And here's why I'm passionate about the topic of long-term brain health. Many years ago, I was living in Australia, and my dad started having some health issues. So I came back to the United States for what I thought would be 6 weeks, and it turned into 6 months, and I ended up being his primary caregiver for the last 4 years of his life. And during those last 4 years, Dad suffered from some early Alzheimer's disease. And as his primary caregiver, I started doing some research, trying to understand what Alzheimer's and dementia is all about. Well, I was surprised because I thought it was strictly a genetic disease, but it's not. Yes, there is a DNA component to Alzheimer's and to dementia. However, scientists are now showing that more and more Alzheimer's and dementia and stroke are really lifestyle diseases. And so even after Dad passed, I continued to do my research because, again, I thought it was a DNA issue. And I was worried about what would happen to me and who would look after me. Well, as I just mentioned, fortunately, the more I dug into this, the more research that I read and reviewed, Alzheimer's disease and long-term brain health, these are lifestyle issues based on how we live our lives in our 30s and our 40s and our 50s. And so no, Alzheimer's is not an old-timers disease, and brain health is certainly not something you want to put off into your 60s or 70s. So here's why this topic is so important. Estimates before the pandemic predicted a 67% increase in dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and stroke by the year 2030. Again, this is pre-pandemic. And these estimates meant that over 10 million people in the United States and a remarkable 76 million people worldwide were projected to be suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and stroke at the end of this decade. Now, I can guarantee you those numbers will only increase as a result of the pandemic, the stress and anxiety that we've gone through during the pandemic and through the lockdown periods and on lockdown and off lockdown and back onto lockdown. So the number is going to increase. Again, these are pre-pandemic predictions. The impact on our brains from stress, anxiety, and other emotions associated with the pandemic lockdowns and the uncertain economic conditions over the last 14, 15, 18 months are only going to increase these figures. So research from neuroscientists using the new MRI technology is now showing us that dementia and Alzheimer's and even stroke are not old age disease. What happens in your brain in your 60s and 70s and even beyond actually results from how you live and what you do in your 30s, your 40s, and 50s. For instance, men who put on the most abdominal fat in their 40s are the most likely to develop dementia later in their lives. And higher levels of fat in old age is directly correlated with the reduction in cognitive function. In fact, people with too much belly fat actually have smaller brains than those the same age who have leaner bodies. And this is because the fat cells increase inflammation throughout the body and your brain. No wonder the American Heart Association and the American Stroke Association estimate that 60% of Americans will develop a brain disease in their lifetimes. That's 6 in 10 of us. And again, these are pre-pandemic estimates. And yes, while the data is from the United States only, I can guarantee you that the same incidences of brain disease are going to happen across the globe. So that's why I want to produce this video series for you. I want to bring you this message that brain disease is something that starts in our 30s and 40s, and we can actually minimize our risk. We can reduce our risks for dementia, Alzheimer's, and even stroke, no matter when we start. In this video series, I will share with you some of the latest research from neuroscientists on ways to build and maintain your long-term brain health. I'll also tell you how stress impacts your long-term brain health, particularly prolonged stress. And I'll give you some tips on how to control and manage your brain when under stress. And very importantly, I'm going to share with you why multitasking is not good for your long-term brain health. And I know everyone loves to multitask. But let me tell you right now, multitasking, particularly in your 30s and 40s, is not good for your long-term brain health. And lastly, Since that's the title of the series, I'm going to share with you scientifically proven ways to build and maintain your long-term brain health, no matter what your age. Now, these are important topics, and the tips I share with you are proven to work. And it's important because you certainly don't want to be one of the 76 million people suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or stroke at the end of this decade. Now, in the next video, I'll start by showing you why our busy brains are overloaded and the impact that this has on your long-term brain health. So let's go to the next video now and get started.